Welcome back, learners. So today in my lecture video I will be discussing Yersinia enterocolitica. So today our topic of discussion is Yersinia enterocolitica as a part of your food and agricultural microbiology subject. So if you remember that Yersinia is a gram-negative, it is a gram-negative bacterium. It is a bacillus shaped, that is your rod shaped, it's a bacillus, okay, belonging to the family your Yersineaceae. So gram-negative bacillus belongs to the family of Yersineaceae. Of course, it is motile. The temperature optimum for their growth is 22 to 29 degrees C, but becomes non-motile at normal human body temperature. So their motility is variable. Motility occurs when the temperature is at 22 to 29 degrees centigrade, but becomes non-motile when the temperature is your normal body temperature. Okay. So if I recapitulate, Yersinia colitica is a gram-negative bacillus belonging to the family Yersineaceae. It's a motile organism in temperature of 22 to 29 degrees C and non-motile in a normal body temperature. Then if we move forward, that Yersinia enterocolitica infection causes the disease which is called as yersiniosis. So it causes yersiniosis, which is an animal-borne disease occurring in humans as well as in wide array of animals. So we can conclude that this disease is zoonotic disease, as it is present in animals as well as human beings. Many of these animals recover from the disease and becomes carrier, and these are potential source of contagion despite showing no signs of disease. That is very important. That is, the animals, right, are the vast reservoir of the disease. They are the carriers of the disease. And as they are the carriers of the disease, what will happen? So animals are basically the carriers of the disease, and ultimately what is happening? This particular carrier can now transmit to the human beings. They are transmitted to the human beings, right? Because these animals shows no potential signs and symptoms, no potential signs and symptoms. So that is why it is very dangerous, as it transmits to many organisms, right? So next we will move on. That enterocolitica, Yersinia enterocolitica. Why enterocolitica? Why enterocolitica is a heterogeneous group of strain. Heterogeneous group of strain, which is traditionally classified by biotyping. Okay. into 6 biogroups on the basis of phenotypic characteristics. So they have 6 biogroups, okay, with phenotypic characteristics, right? Now, serotyping is also being done into more than 57 O groups. So, serotyping is done to more than 57 O serogroups, okay, on the basis of, now serotyping is done how? The serotyping is basically done on the basis of your O, that is your lipopolysaccharide surface antigen, LPS surface antigen. Okay, so serotyping is also being done. Now strains that belong to serogroups, that is O3 is under biogroup 4, O5 and 27 biogroup 2 and 3. So if I can write for you. So if it is O3, the biogroup is 4. Okay. If it is O5 and 27, the biogroup 2 and 3. Okay. Then O8, biogroup 1b. Okay. O9, biogroup, sorry, if I write it again, that is O3, biogroup 4, O5, 27, biogroup 2 and 3, O8, biogroup 1b, okay, O9, biogroup 2. So these are there. This has been found out. Yersinia enterocolitica is widespread in nature, occurring in the reservoir ranging from intestinal tract of numerous animals, avian species, cold-blooded species, and even from terrestrial and aquatic niche. Most environmental isolates are avirulent. However, isolates recovered from porcine source contain human pathogenic serogroups. In addition, from dogs, ships, wild rodent, environmental water may also be a reservoir of pathogenic Yersinia enterocolitica strain. So human pathogenic strains are usually confined to the intestinal tract. So they are confined to the intestinal tract, and since they are confined to the intestinal tract, that is why you are studying it in your food microbiology class. Okay. Next we will move on. Next we will move on to the signs and your symptoms. So if we understand symptoms, the portal of entry is the gastrointestinal tract. So let's move on. So next we will move on to the portal of entry. So the portal of entry is through the gastrointestinal tract. So it is entering through the GI tract. The organism is acquired usually. How will you acquire the organism? How it is being transmitted? Acquired usually by insufficient cooked pork. Insufficiently cooked pork, okay, or contaminated water, meat or milk. So these are the various mode of your transmission. Okay, acute Yersinia enterocolitica infection usually lead to a disease, mild disease, which is your enterocolitis. We call it enterocolitis, okay, and or terminal ileitis. ileitis or ileitis. So terminal ileitis and adenitis in humans. Adenitis in humans. Ileitis and adenitis in humans. Symptoms may occur. What are the symptoms? The symptoms can be your diarrhea, but this diarrhea can be watery diarrhea, or this diarrhea can also be bloody diarrhea. So watery diarrhea and bloody diarrhea is one of the symptoms, okay? Fever. It will also have, a person will also have your fever, okay, resembling appendicitis or salmonellosis or shigellosis, okay. Next, after oral uptake, Yersinia species replicate in the terminal ileum and invade the Peyer's patch, okay, Peyer's patches. From here, they may disseminate further to the mesenteric lymph node. So they move to the lymph node, which causes the very important the swelling of the lymph node, which is called as lymphoadenopathy. So you may have lymphoadenopathy. This condition can be confused with appendicitis, so it's called pseudoappendicitis. It's like appendicitis but not appendicitis. In immunosuppressed individuals, they can disseminate from the gut to liver. So now I will talk about your immunosuppressed individual. So in your immunosuppressed individuals, they can disseminate from the gut to liver and spleen and form what we called as abscesses, okay. Because Yersinia species are siderophilic. What is your siderophilic? Philic means affinity, okay. Siderophilic means your iron loving, okay. So they are siderophilic or your iron loving, okay, bacteria with hereditary hemochromatosis, a disease resulting in high body iron level. So people usually have, like in people, hereditary hemochromatosis, which is your high body iron levels, okay, and more susceptible to infection with Yersinia and other siderophilic bacteria. In fact, the most common contaminant of stored blood is Yersinia enterocolitica. So, Yersiniosis are for the further details. So, next we will move on. So, we have talked about the symptoms and the mode of transmission. So, now we will be talking about your treatment. So, when we talk about treatment, let's say Yersiniosis is your self-limiting in nature and does not require treatment. But for sepsis or severe focal infection, especially in the immunosuppression, the recommended regime is your doxycycline in combination with some aminoglycosides. You know what is aminoglycosides, okay? Other antibiotics active against Yersinia enterocolitica includes your trimethoprim, okay, sulfamethoxazole, sulfamethoxazole. Okay, so this can be one mode of antibiotic. Then your fluoroquinolones. Then is your fluoroquinolones. Okay, fluoroquinolones. That can be another antibiotic. Ceftriaxone can be another antibiotic. Yersinia enterocolitica is usually resistant to penicillin G. So they are resistant to penicillin G, ampicillin, okay, due to beta-lactamase production. Okay. Now, sometimes Yersinia enterocolitica infections are followed by chronic inflammatory disease. Some chronic inflammatory disease may follow. This is just for the prognosis. Inflammatory disease may follow. Okay. And those are basically your arthritis, okay, erythema nodosum, okay, and your reactive arthritis. So you may have arthritis, inflammation of joint, erythema nodosum. Erythema nodosum is an inflammatory condition characterized by inflammation of fat cells under the skin, resulting in tender red nodules or lumps that are usually seen on both the shields. Okay, so that is your erythema nodosum. Okay, apart from it, it may have, Yersinia seems to be associated with some autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease. So what is that? That is your Graves' Basedow thyroiditis. Okay. Sorry. So I can write once more over here. Graves' Basedow thyroiditis. Okay. So what is that? If I ask you, so Graves' disease, also known as toxic diffuse goiter, is an autoimmune disease that affects the thyroid. So it's an autoimmune disease of your thyroid. Okay, it frequently results in and is most common cause of hyperthyroidism. It's not hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism. Okay, and it is often result in your enlarged thyroid. Okay, followed by your muscle weakness, sleeping problem, fast heartbeat, poor tolerance of heat, diarrhea, and unintentional weight loss. Okay, even thickening of the skin on the sheen, known as pretibial myxedema, and eye bulging are the condition of your Graves' ophthalmopathy. Okay, so these are associated sometimes with your enterocolitica. Associate. Okay, so ultimately enterocolitica infection has also been suggested to be not the cause of autoimmune thyroid disease, but rather associated condition with both sharing a common inherited susceptibility. They are sharing a common inherited susceptibility. More recently, the role of Yersinia enterocolitica in this particular disease has been disputed. So in a nutshell, today we have discussed the mode of transmission, what is enterocolitica, its cultural characteristics, how it is being transmitted, what are the different factors which brings about the transmission and establishment of the disease, signs and symptoms of the disease, right, the treatment, and of course the prognosis of the disease. So with this I end my class. So if you have any questions, any queries, you can text me into the Google Classroom. and we will be having the discussion. Stay home, stay safe.